allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Shannon, are you doing a presentation or anything, or are you just looking for the resolution? All right. That sounds good. We can skip right to that. So we have Resolution 2498, which is the resolution canvassing the results of the 2024 election.
Just make a comment. So obviously, as we saw, there was some discrepancy at the county as far as the numbers that were reported versus on election night versus what was reported on Thursday morning. So working with Shannon and Greg, talked to Ken this morning down at the county, who's in charge of the elections. Just kind of got his take on it, and then also a couple county administrators as far as where the discrepancy came, and everybody seemed to be in agreement. It was not any of the machines that were the issue. It was just the very last piece where the numbers were reported to the state were the only issues. So there wasn't any issues with like the machine's reading a wrong number, or the machine's giving any bad information. Everything was good to the point, just the very last piece where they had to feed the information to the state. That was where the discrepancy was, and then where they caught it, they go back and they check all the machines and say, okay, you're supposed to have this number, you have this number, they add them all up, and then they go check the state and say, okay, do those numbers match? They didn't on Thursday morning, that's when so it was in the course of a routine.
Well, something didn't jive on Tuesday night even. Because I glanced at the township and they had like 200 votes with all precincts reporting. Well, I know they got more than that.
Yeah.
So the count was screwed up someplace, or the reporting was screwed up.
Yep. So it didn't change any races here, but I know there was a change in the Elk River School District race, and then the race for 14B representative in St. Cloud. There was one individual was up by 4 votes. Then it flipped to the other individual being up by 29, and then it went to that same individual that was up by 29 was then up by like 150 or something like that. So
Yeah,
there's a little more.
That's what I heard on the news was that one.
Yeah, so they're gonna do a manual recount, so not even through the machine. They said they're gonna do a manual recount of anywhere there's normally it's like if you're within 0.5%, you can request it and the state or the county will pay for it.
It's mandatory if it's within a half.
Yeah, but if it's, it gets paid for by them, but then if it's more than that, you can request it yourself, but you have to pay for it.
Right.
So, they'll do it, but you pay for it. With this one, they said they're, at least in the districts where they're being asked, even if it's beyond that 0.5%, if it changed anything like that, they're gonna automatically do a manual by hand recount, so. I guess, after hearing that, I was uncomfortable at first certifying, but after hearing that, talking to multiple people, I guess I'm comfortable certifying at this point. So,
Do you want to make the motion then?
I can do that.
Perfect.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 2498, canvassing the returns of the 2024 election and declaring the results.
Second.
Motion from Rick, second from Robin. Any other discussion? Hearing none, those in favor may state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Sorry.
All right, on to the police chief issue. So we have candidates still A, B, and C.
Okay.
So candidate C, Greg, do you want to give us an update?
Well, candidate A was the council's choice following the interview on Friday. We prepared an offer. I spoke with him on Friday, delivered it on Friday, and then he came in this morning. And we had a conversation, and we were not able to come to an agreement on salary. He's making considerably more than the top range of this police chief range than where he is now. And so he withdrew as a candidate today from the process. So would you like to proceed with the other two candidates? This is the question.
I'd like to go back in time to Friday.
Were you gonna say, you're about ready to say something?
Yeah, I personally would not move forward with candidate B or C. I think I would wait the duration of time and then go back out for a police chief next spring.
Isn't that gonna create some issues though with, are we gonna get candidates a second time around? I guess,
I don't have a crystal ball.
pardon?
I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know. I assume there will be candidates if we open back up.
You'd figure it would be not likely. I mean, we had a top three candidates, so you'd figure probably the other two candidates wouldn't. I mean, if we're not gonna choose them here, they probably would not reapply, so I guess, the question would be, I guess if you consider B or C not, if you would not be comfortable moving forward, then that's one thing, but if it's like, well, I can move with B or C, but see if we get a better one, I mean, I guess, would you be not comfortable moving forward with B or C? Is that?
Like offering them the position?
Yeah. I mean, are you looking at it in the perspective of, I would be okay with B or C, but I'd like to see if we get a better one, or is it like, there's B or C are not,
I mean, B had a lot to, each one had something lacking, I guess.
My big concern is B, at the beginning of the interview on Friday, admitted that he had things undone. He didn't feel like he had finished what he had started.
Oh, I see.
During that first question we asked.
Yeah.
That being said, he did say, I'm willing to leave those undone and move on. I just think B and C are very similar in so many aspects that I don't know that one is an obviously better choice than the other. I think they're, at this similar points in their career. I don't know that one has more or enough experience than the other. I don't get a clear distinction on that.
I guess I would still, I haven't moved, since my position on Friday. I guess now that I've had a few more days to think about it, I still think, B was my top three out of Friday. Yeah, after coming out of Friday, I think that's still where I'm at today, having even had a few more days to think about it. I'd be, everything not moving since Friday, also meaning that, I could, B would be my preference over C. If everybody was ready to go with C, I didn't have, C was not a hard no for me. I could do C, but I would prefer B.
Do you prefer not to wait?
Yeah, I mean, I could go with B. That's where.
I prefer not to run it again.
Robin, how do you?
I don't know. I'm I guess I'm at a loss for words, aren't I? I'm not opposed. I just, I have a feeling that it's not gonna be a good fit with the complete change of lifestyle that it'll bring B. I I think that might come back and bite us. That's my biggest reservation with him.
What was the period of time? Was it 6 months?
We could go up to a year.
Yeah, it's 6 month, could go to a year if you wanted to.
I mean, we'd probably know. I mean, that'd be a tough decision though to say after, you know,
Yeah, that-
that'd be a very tough
Yeah,
decision.
you,
Don't wanna downplay that, but
no, because I don't want it to be, hey, you're good at what you do, but you're just not a good enough fit here.
It wasn't a good enough fit. There was just missing some leadership skills.
And budgeting skills.
Yeah,
the budgeting skills didn't
those can be taught.
scare me as much because, I mean, in terms of a budget, our budget's pretty, you know, I mean, they all, even candidates that weren't selected there made the point, you know, that the majority of it is wages and salaries, which you're dealing with unions, so
Yeah.
those are set. We typically are, as far as the department head, their salaries get set, so that's the, you know, the CIP, the cars are on a rotation, the only thing we really do with the cars is we may postpone a year if there's one that if we think it's gonna be at 100,000 miles and it's at 80,000, we
Right.
may punt on that for a year.
So the only,
That's 95% of the budget right
True.
there.
the only other thing that concerned me in the questions that we asked were, how would you react if something wasn't approved by council that you felt strongly about? And his answer was that it's on me because I didn't explain it well enough. Well, that might not be the case. It just might be that we're gonna pass on that at this point in where we're at with our policing.
That was why I tried to ask that follow-up
Yes,
question.
I know, and I just, little things concerned me. I'm not gonna lie, I'm almost a little relieved that this came out the way it did because I still had reservations about candidate A, which I probably would have gotten over, but somewhere in that lack of transparency that I felt this salary range was posted, you knew. And we've spent, what, 14 hours on interviews now that's frustrating. So,
It was one of the concerns I had going in.
Yeah, I think that came up.
Yeah, I brought that up.
Yep. Which is something too to keep in mind if as we're looking at others in similar position, you know, it's probably gonna be somebody of a similar position, you know, so let's just say it's a larger force like that where they're a officer. I mean, they're probably gonna be this is probably gonna be a similar, similar budget issue. So maybe having that much experience almost is maybe too much, that might be.
yeah. I guess my thought is with C, and I understand there's a consensus that maybe that person isn't ready to move into this position. I kind of feel the same way with B. I think where they lack in similar areas. My only level of comfort with C is it's a known quantity, and it's not going to be a shell shock coming from one job to a completely different job. So I don't know. Do I feel really strongly about one or the other? Probably not a hill I'm gonna die on, but I sometimes think that known quantity is
But you'd,
More
if you went with B, you'd still have the known quantity, they'd be kind of a,
kind of, but I
Probably
think,
will.
I worry that he is going to walk in, sit in a chair and go, "Huh, this isn't for me."
We did ask the, will you be bored aspect.
Yeah,
Well, we could have a similar situation too, with what we had with A.
I can't believe you saved that chocolate.
I'm saving it for a rainy day.
it's raining.
I don't know, you guys, like I said,
I'm
I'm
okay
kind of,
with reposting it if you want.
what do we do in the meantime?
You would have to do an interim.
Yeah, we'd have to name an interim chief,
Which is effectively gonna be,
unless you find somebody from the outside who, isn't interested in being a candidate, but would fill in.
I don't know how I feel about that either. Well, I mean, it worked good when we had somebody before you came along, that worked good, but that seemed like a really lucky find for a short period of time.
Yeah, an administrator is different, I think,
Than
than
a
Yeah.
a
working
police
police
chief. That's
chief.
a,
Agreed.
I mean, that's the, because I was trying to think about the, the getting bored piece too, I mean, he's got a family now, so it's maybe something you think about as a family, is you don't wanna be in the firefight every day.
Right.
Be, nice to go home. But is it gonna be too much less? But that's, one of the things B did say was, he wanted to be a working chief, and maybe that's how you handle some of that. I mean, that was kind of one of the rubs on A was like, well, it's gonna, be more of a person in the
That was
desk,
a
so.
rub I had too.
Yeah,
so.
so I mean, B, I think would be the opposite, and maybe that's how you relieve some of that.
Yeah.
Is, you okay if that's, the type, personality you are, obviously we don't, we're not gonna pay you a chief's salary to be sitting on Highway 10 all the time, that's what we pay deputies or officers for, but, in backup situations or in, filling in for vacation, somebody goes to court, you know, yeah, on occasion you can take a shift, and that's, maybe that helps to. Cause there's gonna be some of that, especially if we have the issues like we do with part-time.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're still not able to hire part-timers, I mean, that's gonna put us in the, the lurch of needing a, of a somewhat working chief. I mean, not that we're gonna expect them to do a lot, as far as being out taking a lot of shifts, but until we get that, that situation ratified, I mean, we need somebody that's willing to stand and do it if they need to.
Did you ever ask Brent if he'd be willing to stay on part-time?
He'll have some restriction on it. I believe there needs to be a period of separation before. I have not fully researched that. And
And with
it's only,
PRA, I think he has to walk away for a while.
yeah, with no promise to come back. So it depends. He could come back in a covered capacity, as an employee, and that's a waiting period, or I believe he can come back as a contracted employee. And that's sooner. I would have to do some checking on that.
Wouldn't this violate the no promise if we're,
Right, yeah,
we're sitting
it's-
here in November saying you're leaving December
Well,
31st?
but he already though committed to leaving, so it isn't like he was still deciding and weighing, and we came in as in
he
that
put in the
deliberation, and he said, okay, perfect, that'll work perfect. This is after the fact, he's given his notice.
Okay. Okay, so just not a promise of the same job, the W-2, same job continuing. This would be, coming back as a contractor is a different position.
There is an option too, you could come back, on a phased retirement, where he can work up to 20 hours a week.
Have you had any conversations with him?
Not about that, but I have done a phased retirement with others in the past, works pretty slick. So it's gonna be his willingness to do that.
Yeah.
That's kind of our option D.
Doesn't sound like there's an overwhelming sense to move forward with any of the remaining candidates, except for you, Rick.
I think Rick's point too is the other two finalists here won't submit. They're gone.
Right.
In a
Well, I
future-
wouldn't consider A again, just based off of that.
I'm talking B and C.
Oh,
You
I
know,
gotcha.
that any future, application period, they're not gonna be there.
And then I look at the other two that we didn't second interview and go, I don't want to have a candidate pool of 10 of them.
I mean, these three were clearly better than the other ones.
Yeah.
And knowing with with the salary issues that we're likely to
We're going to
bump into that more and more.
see that with a more established, longer term.
Yeah, my concern is anybody that we pick is gonna be in that situation where they're gonna be already making more than what we're offering.
For both B and C, they are currently below what? Yeah. They would fall below the range.
And that's from an experience, so that's kind of I think that's probably gotta be our
Yep.
target for the experience pool. It can't be.
Yeah, it's gonna be somebody in a sergeant position is where they're gonna fall in salary range.
Yeah.
At a bigger department.
Well, then no matter what we do, we're going to run into the same thing with candidates with lesser experience are coming
Yep.
off the street to a desk position, I think.
I don't feel we're gonna get a candidate that everybody likes that isn't already making more than what we're offering.
Yeah, it's possible we didn't see more candidate A's because they followed the instructions and so read
Right.
read the salary requirements and went, nope. So,
Right.
Well, the reason I brought it up before was sometimes people will apply for a position like that thinking that maybe they can talk them into more money.
Yeah.
well, you tried.
I'd like to try to talk somebody into $40,000 a year. Could have worked on that.
Well, the other thing you could do is you could do a position assessment, basically of the kind of the leadership evaluation that we talked about, but just tweak it a little bit and not necessarily make leadership a component, but check fit.
How expensive are those?
It's gonna be a couple $1,000s.
Well, we did that though. I mean, it is one of the highest paid positions in the city based off of how many people.
Oh, yeah, but no, I don't mean an evaluation of the wage. I mean a leadership type.
Leadership.
You know, a Martin McAllister type, look at,
I mean, do you do that on both of them?
we could. I mean, the hope is we're hiring a chief for a long time. You know, $4,000 now is not a lot of money over a number of years, provided you get the right person.
Well, I hate to spend the money. I guess I would be more comfortable seeing what those outcomes are. You know what I'm saying? I don't like the idea of spending the money, but
But you're committing then,
I'd rather
Nope,
spend the $4,000.
You can do those without a conditional offer.
okay.
I'd rather spend the $4,000
then go the wrong way.
than rather do that than run the ad again.
Right. Yeah, what's that cost?
Well, it's just the time and
Well, but you would pay an interim.
if we're gonna get anybody better.
Right. But you also are gonna pay an interim if you're not gonna promote somebody within the department. So you're gonna pay that much.
You know,
I'd rather go that route.
I kind of would be interested to see what that showed. I mean, if one is much stronger than the other, then I feel like it kind of takes that guesswork out of our hands. It gives us a tool at least to, I don't know. I mean, is it an unreasonable thing to do?
No, it's pretty standard stuff in the cities, metro area, it's standard.
I like that idea.
And that's not the psychological, that would then come with, assuming one of them you said okay to, then it would be a conditional offer at that time, based on psychological and a couple of other things.
Tracy, what do you think?
I guess I'd rather know I'd rather know the results of the test versus, but it's just there's a fee for both, and then you're just saying whoever
Yes.
ranks the best out of that.
Well, I think if we do that, and if it comes down to hiring B, then it makes some equity in that decision. It says we were both qualified, you know, we were both considered. It might make a working relationship down the road better if that's the direction that we end up going.
Assuming they were to both come back, let's just say similar good. I mean, I'd almost have to go with B though. I mean, I don't know how you would, I think though, I mean, the only,
But our problem is what we think they both lack is leadership. So if that's truly what we feel is lacking, then let's get the assessment and have a better idea of really who is lacking. Or if neither are, then we have a different discussion.
yeah, I can agree to that, to do the assessment for both and so.
Yep.
What's the duration of the assessment?
It'll just be getting them scheduled.
Okay.
Assuming we could get them in next week, that would be hopeful. I'm gonna call first thing in the morning. If they can get in, the report turnaround is a day. So once they get in, they get it done.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a quick turnaround. I can't say we'd have for the next meeting in November, but maybe for the first one in December for you too.
Well, even if we had to do an hour special meeting.
Yep,
Yeah,
I'd rather be getting on it and getting it taken care of.
okay.
If they can get in next week and you know a date that you'll have the report, let's put an hour on the calendar somewhere.
you need a motion for that?
If you want to, I think that's probably appropriate. We're spending money that way. It's included in there.
Then I'll make the motion to have the leadership
Assessment.
assessment done for both candidates, B and C.
Okay,
Second.
Motion from Robin, second from Mike. Though, any other discussion?
Sorry,
If not, those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Leadership assessment. All right, council have anything else for the betterment?
Not tonight.
Not
Tonight.
Thank you, Rick.
Second.
Motion from Rick, second from Robin. All those in favor may state aye.
Aye.
5:30 PM adjourned.